in a wonderful car park in Stratford-upon-Avon. We're visiting the home of Shakespeare, so we're going to go see the church in which he's buried, the house he was born in, and we'll see what else we can see along the way. I think a lot of the video, though, we're probably going to have to be quiet because obviously in a church I don't want to make too much noise just in case there's people praying or whatnot. But we're starting the journey in a multi-storey car park, which isn't quite as historical as I was hoping. Now, I know I said I was going to stay quiet, but I stayed so quiet I forgot to narrate anything. But this is us walking past the Gower Memorial, which was built in 1888, and then we crossed the Canal, and we were going to walk through Bancroft Gardens, down past the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, the Swan Theatre, down the River Avon, down to the Holy Trinity Church. But we had a little problem. You could probably tell on the left here that the canal is rather full and the River Avon had flooded, so we had to change our route ever so slightly, but only a little bit. One of the interesting things about walking past the canal was how many locks you have to go through to get to places like Liverpool and Birmingham. So Liverpool here, I think it says 154 locks, which is a significant number. Fed. And you can see what I was talking about here. The river has burst its banks essentially. It's 4 or 5 meters beyond where the river normally is. There's nowhere to sit or walk, so we couldn't walk the riverside. We had to walk past some fantastically old buildings on our way to Holy Trinity Church. Holy Trinity Church has been a religious site since the 9th century, so over 1,000 years, and is the location of Shakespeare's baptism and burial. And as you enter the oldest part of the church, the crossing, you can see the baptism and burial records with Shakespeare marked by the little arrows on the left and right. And as you head through the chancel up towards the altar, you're greeted by these magnificent stained glass windows and the location of Shakespeare and some of his family's burial. So on the floor just in front here is where Shakespeare and some of his family are buried. And there is a bust on the wall where the anniversary of his death, they present him with a new quill every year, which is a very nice touch. Just up from the church is Hall's Croft, which is where Shakespeare's daughter's husband's house was. He was a doctor, John Hall, and Shakespeare's daughter and husband lived in this house. It's currently closed. You can normally tour it, but at the moment it's closed for refurbishment. A little further into town, you walk past Shakespeare's old schoolhouse, I think this is, which is very well maintained. But again, we didn't enter because it was closed when we went for our visit. So we just carried on walking up into the town proper, looking for Shakespeare's house from when he was born. And this bit was surprisingly busy. I didn't expect it to have quite so many people in it. We have a statue to Shakespeare here, and then a moving one to the right, which we'll see a little bit more in a little while. But that brownish house in front is apparently the house that Shakespeare was born in. And although very, very well maintained, you can see that the chimney has been recently rebuilt. I do feel that it's a little bit like Trigger's broom, and it has probably been rebuilt so many times that nothing original remains. It does look a little bit like a house from Disney, but it is really, really cool to see such an old piece of history just in the middle of a town. I mean, I'm not expecting a house to live for 500 years, but this is the house Shakespeare was born in. And then as we explore a little bit further up the road, we come to a statue to the Motley Fool, which I've got to admit is probably my favourite statue of all of them here. And then we head back down the high street, heading back towards the car. Our day is over. I wanted to go visit Anne Hathaway's cottage, but it wasn't really within walking distance of where we were, and by this point my legs were tired. I don't know about anybody else's. But would I recommend a visit to Stratford-upon-Avon? I absolutely would. If you're a Shakespeare fan, you'll love it. If you like English history and the Tudor period, again, you'll love it. It is a town of contradictions. Some of the older buildings aren't as old as they look, and there are a lot of newer buildings here also. Obviously, a lot of room has been made for the Shakespeare experience, but it is definitely well worth a visit if you're within an hour or two of it.